So how to develop emotional maturity? You know, as we look at emotional maturity, a great starting point for me is understanding this idea of temperament. So as we talk about temperament, each temperament is unique, each temperament is different. Today we're going to talk about one of the probably most difficult temperaments to understand, and that is the green temperament. And in fact, if I was talking to somebody who had a green temperament, if you were sitting there right now today as a green temperament, having a green temperament, and I said, today we're going to talk about emotional maturity, I'd probably get something that looked more like this, right? Or somebody's like, oh. Because when we talk about emotional maturity, we're talking about feelings and we're talking about emotions. And one of the things the greens don't want to deal with, and they don't really want to talk a lot about, is about feelings and emotions. It's just not part of who they are as a human. So who are they as a human? Let's talk about the green temperament to understand them a little bit deeper from who they are. And then let's talk about the green temperament from the perspective of, how do they show up and what is the impact, positively or negatively, they might be having on the organizations that they belong to. So to understand the green temperament, we start with this one word. If I can just use this one word, it pretty much sums it up. Thousands of posters that I've seen and been created with groups and groups of individuals that have this green temperament. And the one word that really describes them is competence. Now, it's not just competence like you and I think of competence. If you have the green temperament, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't have the green temperament, we can't even come close to understanding what it means to be competent. But I'll try to explain it. When they talk about competence, from a personal perspective, if I have a green preference, then what I'm really talking about is I want to be perfect in everything I do. Now, isn't that interesting? I mean, what's the reality of that happening? It's not very real, but yet they strive for that. It's an amazing attribute that they have. Not only do they strive to be competent, but they strive to be competent in every aspect of their lives. And how does that play out? Well, I have a son-in-law, happens to have a very high green preference. Married my daughter, who has a very high blue preference. Blue is the opposite of green, and now here they come together in this relationship. Well, his way that he would go through life would be to be highly competent, to do the things that he does, to go to work, provide for his family. And some of the things that she needs is, I need to be hugged, I need to be told I'm loved, I need to be told I'm important to you. And one of the statements I kind of joke around about with the greens is that when they get married, this is kind of the statement that they give to their spouse. On the day we're married, I'll tell you that I love you. And if I ever change my mind, I'll let you know. Because they don't do things, they don't make decisions lightly. So the fact that they chose to be married and that he chose to marry my daughter should just be enough, right? That's the most competent decision he could make. So that's how competence plays out. And it plays out into all their... Now what he's learned though is over time is to really be a competent husband to my daughter, he needs to be blue. Now let me tell you, he hasn't become a blue, nor will he ever become a blue. But he has learned how to do blue things in a very competent way so that he can make sure that my daughter knows and understands how much he loves and appreciates her. I call that emotional maturity, the ability that he has to understand that just going through life as a green, being highly competent, isn't going to help him be successful in all his relationships. He understands that and he's able to change and improve so that that relationship can be successful. At work, it plays out the same way. A high green boss, a high green employee at work, they'd be perfectly happy just to sit behind a desk and be left alone. In fact, I had a lady that worked for me and she came to me when I first took over this area in my military career. She came to me and said, just so you would know, this is the job that I do. I do it better than anybody's ever done it. I don't expect me to train anybody, and I don't expect me to give anybody any ideas on how to do their jobs. If they want to know how to do their jobs, they can figure it out themselves because that's what I did and that's what I expect them to do. So basically, I'm going to be over in this cubicle doing my job and doing it well and leave me alone. Now, what I would refer to that as a low mature statement. Why? Because I needed her to be able to help me to train the other folks that were in our area. I needed her expertise and her knowledge. And initially she wasn't willing to do that because she wouldn't take a job that she couldn't do So she tried to project that onto others. Then why did they take this job if they can't do it? So low mature behaviors begin to impact. Imagine if she would have kept that attitude in our work area, and that people then tried to go to her and she says, go figure it out yourself. What happens in those relationships, and how does it impact the results that we're trying to get to? So like her and her initial low mature behavior, we sat down, we had a talk. I expressed to her where we're trying to get to, what I need her to be able to do to up her game and to be highly competent as a member of our team. I needed her to help me to train these folks. Now she had to make a choice, and she chose like, well, I can do that. See, because what I put it in the context of being able to say, I need you to be competent in helping these other people to grow and progress. So I tied into her being competent and helping me to be competent, to help them to be competent. She appreciated that. So that's what emotional maturity does. It allows us to look beyond ourselves. It allows us to identify what it is we're trying to get to, and then what do I need to do to be more effective? Because none of us get to go through life alone. All of us are part of teams, we're part of families, we're part of humanity. And so as a green, going through life as a green, you don't get to just go through life alone. They love that, but they don't. So that's really what we're talking about when we talk about emotional maturity. In the first story, my son-in-law's ability to change and improve so that he can be more successful in that relationship. Or in the person that worked with me, her ability to understand that she needed to improve who she was as a human to be able to help our team to be successful. So in the end, that's our goal. We all have great strengths on who we are as a green. We need to be able to capitalize on that and improve and have our ability to be able to help other people that might not think and act and behave just like us. That's what we call success, is when I can help others to grow and progress. And as I do that, I grow and progress. So if you really want to know and really dig down deep and find out who you are, click below on our link to take your free assessment. And then as you take that assessment and really determine what your primary temperaments are, and use that knowledge to be able to understand others and help them to be successful. We'd also like to invite you to subscribe to our channel, because this is just the beginning of many conversations that we're going to have about this idea of emotional intelligence and emotional maturity. And we'd invite you to join us on our journey of helping us put the human back into humanity.